Hey guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an article titled Millions of Men No Longer Want to Get Married, and you can thank the government for that. And guys, this article is written by a woman, and pretty much she's going to go into this whole thing, pretty much how, thanks to the government and very unfair policies towards men, more and more men are no longer interested in getting married. That the word is out, guys are waking up, and they simply are not going to deal with all the bullshit that they got to deal with in terms of all the raw deal, in terms of divorce settlements, pretty much, guaranteed that at best the wife's going to get half of everything if there's a divorce. But we all know darn well it's usually worse than that. She gets the house, the kids, the dog and the cat, everything, not to mention alimony and all that. And thanks to that and other policies by the government, more and more men are saying, no way. Now, again, that's the article. That's what the title of the article. But guys, what really is going on here, if you read between the lines, what really this article is about is the fact that, yes, millions of men no longer want to get married, but women are scared shitless of this. Okay, that's what's really going on. This article, because I've obviously read it before I'm doing this video, you can tell that obviously not only is the word out, but the word is out also with women, and they're waking up to realize that this is what's going on. And at the end of the day, I don't care pretty much who it is, by and large, most women eventually want to get married. Obviously nowadays it's later on in life, but they still want to do the family thing, have that ring on their finger, walk down the aisle, be a Mrs. Somebody, at least for a little while, because, it's not hard for even an average looking woman to get guys, but to actually get a guy that want to marry you, that's something else. Okay, so they still want that and the kids and all that. But more and more guys are waking up to the reality of how things really are, what they're in store for, what's going to happen down the road if they in fact get married. Because the attitude is completely different nowadays than it was many decades ago or a couple generations ago. It's not the time period of my grandparents or my parents. Totally different world. And definitely they realize this. And so now we're having some articles coming out in support of men. And to be fair, there are some women out there definitely that they do not like feminism. In fact, they hate feminism. They think it's a bunch of bullshit and it's had a negative effect on things across the board. And I know women that absolutely cannot stand it, and they can see what it really stands for. And I get easily a couple of emails a week from women telling me they thank me for what I do, and I believe that's sincere. I really do, and I have good reason to back that up. But in this particular case, this isn't, again, to help guys or bring attention. There's an ulterior motive here. It's to help women. Hands down guaranteed, because they're nervous, because they see more and more guys. More and more guys are waking up. More guys are talking about this. More guys are paying attention to channels like mine and other great guys out there and realize, wait a second, there's no way I'm going to sign up for this. And that's just the issues they could deal with if they get a divorce. That's a whole other ball game with how things are going to be in the marriage. Because what guys are waking up to realize is that the way things were with their girl before the marriage is not how they're going to be once they actually get hitched and that ring is on her finger, okay? Statistically, it's not going to be that way. It's not going to be the good thing they had prior to that, if it actually was good. So, anyhow, guys, I'm going to jump into this article. You're going to see the things she talks about here. And the things she does talk about, there are definitely things that are accurate, which I will point out. And there's other things I think that are BS, which I will most certainly point out. And at the end, I'm going to share with you guys a few comments from guys that have read this. And it's definitely interesting and entertaining to see their take on this article. So, starts off, why are so many men refusing to get married? Is it just because of women, or is it because of the unfair family justice system? Well, both. Marriage is on the decline, and it's a scary thought. Imagine dating a man for years, cohabitating, and giving the relationship your all without him ever having to put a ring on it. No matrimony, no wedding dress, and no big celebration with family and friends. What about the thought of having children without marriage? It's fine if you don't believe in marriage, but the rest of us do. Most women look forward to tying the knot with their man of their dreams. But what will happen if millions of men refuse to get married? This is what is currently happening in America and many other parts of the world. See what I'm talking about? They obviously know what's going on, guys. Guys, I know, I've said this before in other videos, I know several women that are in their mid-30s and 40s that either have never been married or married very, very briefly. There was one. And all of them want to get hitched. All of them want to get married, have families. But guess what? Guys aren't interested in it as much anymore. And of course, they're not as appealing in the looks department, and not to mention attitude-wise, as they once were in their 20s, because a lot of them, and I know this for a fact, were definitely professional carousel riders in their 20s in their prime, and obviously been focusing on career, thinking that they're so hot and so special and amazing, thanks to all the attention they got from guys, and that's guys' fault. That's why I tell you guys, don't validate women. They thought, hey, it's no problem. I can get what I want in my 30s or 40s, and guess what's happening? Guys aren't interested, or they're interested in obviously having fun, but they sure as hell not getting married for lots of reasons. So women know this, and this is what we're getting here. These are these articles you're going to see more and more of as time goes on. Historically low marriage rates in America. U.S. News reported that marriage rates reached a historic low in 2018, with only 6.5 people out of 1,000 getting married, the lowest level in 118 years. Philip Cohen, a sociology professor at the University of Maryland, says, women's independence and gender equality is a huge factor in the long-term decline in marriage. There has also been a rise in men's rights groups such as Men Going Their Own Way and the Manosphere, where men in droves complain, notice that word, complain about men's unfair treatment in relationships and family courts. They're tired of being browbeaten by women and the gender-biased laws against men. For this reason, millions of men don't want to get married and are opting out of marriage altogether. You know, guys, I've done articles where women are talking about these things, and it may appear that they're trying to defend guys, and then they'll bring this up, and what they always say is the word complain. They're not saying that men are, through these groups, having an open discussion, bringing attention to this subject, bringing awareness. The word that is chosen is complain. Therefore, the author, which this one is a woman, is obviously being insulting. Trust me, there are some guys that complain, don't get me wrong, but most guys are talking about these various things to bring awareness, to help other guys out, so that guys don't make the same mistakes that maybe they did when they were younger, or people that they know. That's it. Most guys are not whining and complaining like right here she's trying to make it out to be, and other articles that I've gone over. Goes on, men avoid marriage because it's too risky and too costly. Men are not marrying because for many men, the rewards of getting married are far less than they used to be, while the cost and dangers of it are far higher. Absolutely. Divorce rates are sky high. 45% of marriages end in divorce, and women initiate 80% of them. Well, that number, 45%, is pretty low. I've been hearing for quite some time, years, more along the lines of 60%. Now, I don't know if she means here in the world on average or in the United States, but I've heard in the US of A, we're talking like 60%. That's nuts, but I mean, it doesn't surprise me. And of course, people are waiting longer and longer to get married. But when she mentioned that 80% of women typically initiate divorce, that's a number that's been pretty consistent across the board there. Ultimately, men know they could lose a lot, from losing their freedom to being financially exploited to losing custody of their children. It's common knowledge that the courts favor women over men. They're renowned for favoring women regarding the division of assets, child support, and alimony, even if they aren't married. For example, an Ontario businessman was ordered to pay more than $50,000 a month to his ex-girlfriend despite neither owning a house nor having children together. Under Ontario law, an unmarried couple is considered common law spouses if they have cohabited, living together in a conjugal relationship for at least 3 years. I remember that story. It came out, I think it was the end of the summer, or maybe September, and I did that story where a guy, super wealthy guy, he and his girlfriend, just his girlfriend, they had no kids together, they weren't married, but she lived with him a lot, and he'd go to her house a lot over the years, and they eventually broke up. Well, she wanted to get her share because she got used to the lifestyle, and she got it. Now, in the article, which is not mentioning here, in that particular article in the video I did, The guy apparently had asked her a number of times to marry him, and I think he even tried to get her to take his last name. There was a lot of things there that obviously this guy considered her to be basically a wife, even though technically they weren't by law. And that was dumb on his part. But regardless, they break up, and she gets all this. It's insane. It goes on. Under the topic of men losing their children, in the UK, Liz Jones, a columnist at the Daily Mail, reported how she stole her ex-boyfriend's sperm to try to get pregnant but failed, and how one of her friends lied to a new boyfriend that she was on the pill. He's now in a relationship and has to pay support for a child he never sees. What I tell you guys about always wearing protection no matter what, and always disposing of the protection, never believe the whole I'm on the pill bullshit. Never. Unless, of course, you don't mind having a kid with that girl. Entrapment pregnancy, aka forced fatherhood, is a common problem in the United States too. Many women feel paying support for a child they didn't agree to have is unfair. But the courts see it as doing what's right for the child. A woman receiving child support can also claim government assistance, welfare, free health insurance, etc., while the man gets nothing. In the event of a married couple divorcing, men only get custody of their children 10% of the time. Now again, I don't know how accurate that figure is, but still, 1 in 10 times, that's nuts. And guys, I've known couples that have gotten divorced, and believe me, the father was a much better parent than the wife, but she still got the kids. And it's unbelievable to me. And everybody knew darn well that she wasn't exactly, the best mother of the year. But still she got them because that's just how it goes. It's a bunch of crap. Men only get custody of their children 10% of the time, but are always responsible for paying child support and alimony. Many men complain that the court sends the message that fathers are not essential to raising children beyond the point of paying child support. Well, there are many groups in this country and the world that pretty much think that men aren't necessary at all. The old women need a man like a fish needs a bicycle, some bullshit like that, right? But interestingly enough, and I've done articles about this, that mentality, you have more single women than ever, and not to mention more unhappy women that are now usually in therapy, on antidepressants. So this whole we don't need a man thing and the influence of the feminist movement hasn't exactly created a world with a lot of very happy women. You may have financially independent women, but they sure as hell aren't happy because they're not having the families and the kids and plenty of other things that they would have had in different times. Just because some big mouth masculine women thought it was a good idea that the world should be different. It goes on. Under closing thoughts, in a society that strives for equality, maybe these gender laws are outdated. Women make up 50% of the labor force, so why do we claim unfair gender divides regarding marriage and family disputes? If the risks involved in entering marriage were equally distributed, perhaps more men will feel like they have less to lose. Well, at the end of the day, who do you think were the ones that lobbied and protested and raised holy hell to get lawmakers to make the laws to be the way they are today? We all know the answer to that. Or the influencing the smaller courts, the family courts, the judges. Who was behind all that, right? Those same people now need to be out there standing up for guys. And like I said before, there are women that definitely, there are some that are on the side of guys, and there are women that definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, cannot stand the feminist movement. There are plenty that may talk the talk, but they sure as hell don't walk the walk and support guys. So until that happens, things are going to remain as they are, and you're going to have more and more men saying hell no to marriage. And this whole article, guys, is only focused, like I said in the beginning, on the aspects if they get divorced and how guys get hammered. This hasn't even covered the subject of what life is like being married, because what you see on television and movies is bullshit. Not only do most marriages end in divorce, especially in the US of A, but the ones that stay together are somewhere between just being bored, living together as roommates, raising the kids, and bored, certainly not sleeping together, not having a whole lot of romantic fun, to outright hating each other's guts, and it's really sad. Does this mean that all marriages are bad? No. There's definitely a lot of good ones out there, but by and large, they're not that great, and people are just so unhappy. And it goes both ways. You got men that are unhappy, and you got women that are unhappy. And the fact that people are obviously living longer, you can get two people together that had something good initially when they get hitched. And over time, people's values can change, their interests can change, lots of things about them change, and they're not the same people that got together that clicked well. Okay, and it doesn't work. And then trying to force the people to be together and be in love with each other and all that, it just doesn't work. You know, it was one thing back in the day when people didn't live very long, but nowadays people could be living in their 90s, in some case 100 years old. Now, they may not remember who their wife is or who their husband is, but the point is, still during their prime years, if they got married in their 20s and they're together in their 60s, and they obviously have a sound mind then, but they've been unhappy for multiple decades. I just don't get it, guys. In my opinion, life is short. You got to enjoy yourself. But why be trapped in a bad situation? But a lot of people do because they want to stay in it for the kids, or then eventually the grandkids. They don't want to disappoint the family. Or then there's the religious aspect of that. If you're unhappy and miserable, I mean, got to do something about it. Life is short. And more guys that have been through all this and they're on their own, they're happy as can be. These guys that were married for 20 years and they get divorced in their 40s, and they're having the time of their lives. Even if they got hammered in the divorce process and they're paying a big alimony, guys are smart in the sense they can be very frugal and rebuild that wealth and live a happy life. They don't need to live in the McMansion to be happy. They don't need to have all these other things to be happy. Guys don't need a whole lot to be happy, but we do need our freedom to be able to do what we want when we want without anybody telling us what to do, giving us a hard time, nagging us, etc., etc. Anyhow, continues on, it's such a minefield and change might not happen fast. Still, if we want to see the men viewing marriage in a positive light again so we can continue to have strong family units, it will take a long-term focused effort from women, men, and the government. Being aware of these issues men face, empathizing, and trying to see it from their perspective is a great place to start. Well, yes, support is needed. Not just from men, but also women. But until that happens, things will stay as they are. But like I said before, I'm doing my part to help bring awareness. And you don't see me complaining. As they said that men complain. I'm bringing awareness to the subject. I'm bringing awareness to reality. And I'm helping as many guys as I can. And there's plenty of others. So more and more. So if she's complaining in this article that millions are opting out of marriage, well, give it a few more years, you're going to have tens and tens of millions. And it's going to go on and on and on. Now, the article's over, but I'm going to read to you guys some of the comments that I found below that were from guys that are pretty dead on about what they think about this and marriage and all that. And one of the first comments is, I was married and wasted 10 years of time and probably 20 years of investments and liquidity. I'm fit, attractive, and successful. I dated close to 100 women after my divorce. Fact is, most women are a burden to my goals. I want to retire early. Women seem to want to travel, shop, have the best house and the best car, etc. They want it all, but they cannot get it on their own. They also want to jump on the smooth running ship and then have equal say in the life course. I gave up finding an attractive, practical, financially stable woman around 36. My best friends are 3 other men just like me. We realize that life is just easier and more certain without a wife. Couldn't have said it better myself. And this is what a lot of guys are realizing after they've gotten out of being married for a while and been really unhappy. They realize on their own, they're happy doing what they want when they want. When they want to date and hook up with women, they do it. Otherwise, they focus on their goals, their ambitions, hanging out with their friends, and building wealth. Because the guy said right there, he's not going to do it having the wife pissing away the money, because most women really are bad with money. They want to spend. They want the big house to show off, the fancy car to show off, and many other things. And of course, just endless shopping for bullshit. Another comment, this guy says, this is a decent article. The author was quite insightful to many of the problems. However, there are 2 criticisms I have. Firstly, the author is writing this from a deep desire to right the ship, and I have a hard time believing she is sincere in her plea. In other words, he's saying that he realized this isn't just about to help guys, this is to help women, because obviously women are missing out because guys don't want to get married anymore. He says she highlights many problems and leaves it at that. No solutions, just a vague request for men, women, and the government to work together. Secondly, the author still seems to actually have hope that marriage can be adjusted or altered so it will be more appetizing to men. The hard truth is that Pandora's box has been opened and there is no getting her back inside. As you can probably tell from all the comments, there is no going back. The damage is done, and men have woken up. Older men have graciously taken it upon themselves to educate their younger brothers. And the young men have listened and watched. These movements are global now, thanks to the internet. Remember, brothers, no wife, happy life. And the last comment, this guy says, based. In my 20s, I found love twice. They both cheated. Gave every excuse they could other than accountability. One left for a wealthy, polyamorous guy. All of this was in the midst of the M2 movement. Then I discovered MGTOW. I actually got to say that. I actually got to spell it out instead of say it because of YouTube. It's true, some men aged like fine wine. At 32, I finally got fit because of their betrayal and then ensuing heartache. Then I stacked wealth. At 35 years old, I'm buying my second condo next month, this time in Miami. The first was in California. I'm doing this alone in the midst of the global pandemic. The exes are alone now too. The difference is they have nothing. They seem to only be mad at me for this outcome. It's a sad reality. However, I have no regrets, along with millions of other men. I will always be greater. It will always be for the greater good and giving back to those who need it. But I will be doing it alone. So there you go, guys. That was a few guys their take on this situation, and they said, hey, there's no going back now because more and more guys are waking up to seeing reality of how it is. That it's a bad deal. Just don't do it. And as I said before, guys, I got no problem if you want to obviously date and do relationships and all that. That's fine. But I strongly warn you about moving in with your girl because, like I said, moving in with your girl is almost like a mini marriage. You're getting a real taste for it. Where in the beginning you move in with the girl and you're all excited because everything seemed great beforehand. You move in together and in a short period of time, that's what happens because all of a sudden the sex slows down. All of a sudden she's wanting your attention more and more. All of a sudden when in the past you go out with your buddies, either frequently or pursuing your interests and hobbies, she's trying to get you to stop doing that and spend more time with her. She's always checking on you where you're going all the time, wants to know what you're doing, almost like you're living at home with your mom. And of course, there's obviously the mess factor because a lot of women can be slobs, and you're not going to see her being the pretty girl all the time. You're going to see what she really looks like, without the makeup, take care of herself. And usually, statistically, when men and women move in together, both of them usually end up gaining weight because there's less going to the gym and taking care of themselves and stuff like that. And then there's plenty of other reasons, guys. It's just not a good idea. And I know many guys that have backed me up on this. I've been through this. And then, of course, there's the whole marriage factor, which I don't need to talk about because you all know that. So if you are a relationship type of guy, just keep it the relationship, have your own place, come and go as you please, see him once a week, maybe twice on occasion, but I'd keep it at once a week. And you're always in the best situation when she's chasing after you, seeing you as the prize, and always having that chase, always having that challenge trying to get you. Because once she actually gets you, the challenge is over, she's gotten you, and that's where she's not going to try as hard and will get bored. Anyway, so, all right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.